All right, sadly, we got to talk about the Jets' 32-19 loss to the 49ers with co-owner of Jets X Factor, Michael Nania. Mike, after all the hype, after all the expectations, I don't think anyone saw or foresaw the 49ers to absolutely, completely dominate that game. What's up, man? Thanks for hopping on with this. Garrett Wilson said after the game, they whooped our ass. You had some time to sleep on it. Grade the performance, man.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, this was a game that I think a lot of Jets fans were prepared for this to be a tough matchup. I mean, out of the 17 games on their schedule, on paper, this was arguably the toughest one. Reigning NFC champs, maybe the best roster in the league on paper. So fans were ready for this to be a tough game, but I think at the very least you were hoping, with the Jets being a team that has similar Super Bowl aspirations to San Francisco, that this would be, at the very least, a competitive game that came down to the wire. But the Jets very much in both facets of the game were outclassed, outcoached in this one. Didn't seem prepared for the challenge in week one. So there are some things that, given the strength of the opponent, may not be issues against future opponents, especially in the upcoming weeks. The schedule softens up a little bit. But at the same time, there are some problems that I think could potentially be lingering issues as the season progresses.
Let's get into the offense, man, because I was at the Jets-Giants joint practice, and offense was absolutely lighting it up. I thought they were going to, I understand it's one game. I was looking at it like this could be a top 5 offense in the NFL. They still have time to be that. But what were your thoughts on Rodgers, the play calling, and just the offense as a whole?
Yeah, there's definitely still time and potential for them to be that caliber of offense. And I think you saw some signs of why that could be the case. On the positive side, I think the pass protection was a positive in this game. You saw some good pockets. The pressure rate was low. Rodgers was sacked once. And Aaron Rodgers looked pretty sharp when he had chances to throw the ball. He just wasn't on the field that often because of the defense. But at the same time, there were some concerns, and you were going up against an elite defense, so you're hoping that against other teams it's not as much of a problem. But the run game couldn't get going. The run blocking struggled. Breece Hall had negative yardage before contact in this game. That's just not going to get it done. So you're hoping for more from the run blocking with this offensive line. Lazard had an early drop that ended a drive. Breece Hall had a fumble. But some of these issues you're hoping can get corrected, especially Hall fumbling. Shouldn't be a huge issue. Only had 2 last year. But you saw some signs of why this could be a great offense. Just a few things to work out for sure as they're in the early goings here of a very much revamped unit.
Yeah, I think the 2 red flags for me was the time of possession, as you mentioned, 21 minutes and 20 seconds, and then the lack of ball distribution. Allen Lazard had 6 catches, G5 had 6, Breece Hall had 5, and then it was 1 with Braylon Allen, and it was 1 with Tyler Conklin. No wide receiver 3 or second tight end got into the mix. That's going to be something to keep an eye on going forward as they wait for Mike Williams to get 100% fully healthy. Let's Riverside it, man, because this is a team that came into this season with a top 5 defense. This was going to be the highlight of the team. They gave up $180 on the ground, and the 49ers scored points on 8 straight possessions. That's not the Jets defense Jets fans are used to seeing, Michael.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest concern coming out of this game. There are a lot of things that happen that, as I've said a couple times already, it's the 49ers. You're on the road against a team that, knows the Jets well, with Robert Saleh having coached there. So some of these things won't be issues against the Titans, Patriots, Broncos, or at least you're hoping. But this run defense and this defensive line, I think, is something to be legitimately concerned about. You lost 3 of your 5 best pass rushers in Bryce Huff, John Franklin Myers, Quentin Jefferson, and your main replacement for him, Hassan Reddick, he's not on the field. So there were times last night when you look at the personnel the Jets had on that defensive line, and you had units with Braden McGregor, an undrafted free agent, Jalen Holmes, a practice squad call-up, Michael Clemens, who has not done much as a pass rusher in his career, all those guys on the field together at once, and the 49ers took advantage of that. They challenged the Jets' defensive line, ran it right up their throats. The pass rush was not there. They only had 2 sacks and 4 QB hits in this game. So, this defensive line, until Hassan Reddick is on the field, it doesn't look like the Jets' defensive line of the past 2 years. And they're hoping Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, some of these guys could step up and alleviate Reddick's absence and those other losses. But the 49ers showed last night that this Jets defensive line, as currently constructed, there are ways to exploit them, both on the ground and through the air. So the Jets have to get that figured out.
Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, freak athletes when it comes to rushing the passers, but a little bit light when it comes to stopping the run. Jermaine Johnson, 2 tackles on the day. Will McDonald only had 1 assisted tackles. The Jet fan base now, can you look at this whole Hassan Reddick situation like, okay, the leverage has now shifted towards Hassan Reddick and getting in green and getting it with this and signing with this team?
Yeah, I think for sure. This was, Hassan Reddick was at home watching this game, and I think he gained a lot of leverage. I really think that from his perspective, waiting for this game and for the season to play out was one of maybe the last leverage play that he could have had left at this point, because he's losing a lot of money missing these games. But now that the Jets have played a game without him, and we've seen this defensive line struggle with him on the sidelines, and again, the run game was the biggest issue, but the pass rush also wasn't there. And that's where he helps you the most, and it definitely looked like a big hole without him out there. So I don't think they're going to panic just yet after one game against that caliber of team, but as the next few weeks come through here, if they continue to struggle up front on the defensive line, I do think that that leverage is going to shift in Reddick's favor, and we'll see if that pushes the Jets towards having a little more desperation in attempting to find a middle ground with him and make something happen, because they need that 4-man rush to be successful for this defense to work. They do not blitz a lot, less than any other team. So if they're not getting home with 4, they're not stopping the run without, extra linebackers, DBs in the box, it's going to be a rough go, as we saw last night. So yeah, we'll see if that shifts things in Reddick's direction a little bit more.
All eyes are going to be on that Sunday matchup against the Tennessee Titans, where that front 4 is going to have to bounce back against that Titans offensive line, especially when they're going to want to protect Will Levis. But before we even move forward and even looking ahead right now, I want to talk to you about the tweet that I woke up to this morning. ESPN's Mike Greenberg tweeted about Robert Saleh being out-coached, and he even kind of called out GM Joe Douglas. 2-part question for you, man. Do you agree with Greeny about Saleh being out-coached? And is it too early to throw Joe Douglas's name under the bus?
Yeah, in terms of being out-coached, I would say for this one game, absolutely. And it's Kyle Shanahan. I think he's proven himself to be one of the best game planners, best in-game adjusters, schemers in the league in the past few years. So very tough challenge. But at the same time, this is the type of coach you're going to have to be in January and February if you want to win a championship. So it wasn't ideal to see the Jets unprepared for this game, outclassed. With Kyle Shanahan, his offensive game plan perfectly exploited Saleh's defense. And look, Saleh knows Shanahan just as well as vice versa. They worked together for 4 years over there. Their schemes remain similar defensively. So Saleh had the same advantage going back the other way. But we didn't really see that in this game, with the Jets having answers for the Niners defense in the same way that the Niners offense had for the Jets defense. So, he got outcoached in this game for sure, but it was a tough challenge. I think the next 4 weeks are going to tell us a lot more. Can the Jets take care of business against, I think, 4 teams coming up that the Jets definitely expect to be better than and likely will be favored in, assuming they can, avoid going down the toilet here. But in terms of Joe Douglas, I think it's a little too early to throw him under the bus, because they still have all this talent that he accumulated. All the expectations are because of the roster that he's built. But at the same time, we talked about the defensive line, Hassan Reddick not being there, the losses on that unit. If this defense is going to be championship caliber, the caliber of unit that made this such an attractive destination for Aaron Rodgers, they have to get after the quarterback and stop the run in order for it to work. And right now, it doesn't feel like they have the personnel to do that. So if some of these guys can't step up, especially Will McDonald, your first-round pick from a year ago, who was drafted to step up in this situation after losing other players, then I think it might start to reflect on Douglas a little more poorly for not having the Jets prepared for this situation defensively. But still one game here against an elite team on the road. I wouldn't jump on him or Saleh too much yet, but next 4 weeks here against weaker competition, they really need to perform well and take care of business here or then you could start to put a little more pressure on them, I think.
Yeah, I think Joe Douglas did a great job bringing in the groceries, for Saleh, Hackett, and Ulbrich to kind of cook something up. They got to salt bay this thing, turn this thing around, and put a better product out there against the Titans. Michael, tell the people they can find you, man. Shout out the platform.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Michael_Nania. Check out all the content at jetsxfactor.com. I also host the Cool Your Jets podcast. Plenty of great stuff coming. I've already broken down some of the film and stats from this game. Plenty more to come. So check it all out over there.
Dang, bro, when do you sleep? Thanks for hopping on with this, man.
Not a lot, especially after a game like that.